I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us here on Closing Arguments. Big hour, big trial, day 2, the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial. This is important. This is a death penalty case. Look at the man all the way to the right with his little shirt, doesn't move much, got his tie, his white shirt, just like me, right? But he is not wearing a jacket. Chad Daybell's facing the death penalty for the ultimate betrayal. Taking the life of your wife in your marital bed, the woman who brought into the world your 5 children, and he's accused of taking her life so he could be with the blonde hair, blue-eyed vixen, Lori Daybell. Wow. Big day today. Detective Hermosillo back on the stand. But let's get the scoop. Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, joining us live outside the courthouse in Boise, Idaho. Matt, great to see you tonight. Another big day in this big trial. You're going to give us the 3 biggest moments. What's number 1 today?
Number 1, Vinny, nice to see you, is graphic photos and disturbing details, and the doomsday prophet wanting nothing of it. He didn't want to look or listen today during court when they were showing autopsy photos of the 2 children, and they were also hearing details about the search for the children. Detective Ray Hermosillo with the Rexburg Police Department back on the stand. He's been the only witness so far, really detailing the search for the children and what he found when he went on the Doomsday Prophet's property. Take a listen.
There was only a few of us at a time that could work because of the area, but also because of the smell. We had to take turns digging because we were on our hands and knees and the smell was so bad that we could only work for a few minutes before somebody else had to take turns, get on their hands and knees and start digging by hand.
And you said the smell. What did it smell like?
Decomposing body. We ended up digging down and started to uncover burnt pieces of flesh, charred bone, fatty tissue, and I apologize for the lack of better words, but globs of burnt flesh starting to protrude to the dirt. They removed all the soil on top of this small body that was wrapped in completely black plastic. I testified that it appeared to take the shape of a small body in black plastic. And this is what we saw here. It's probably a 4x2 grave, and I'm guessing at those measurements started to take the shape of a small body, and then it had different pieces of duct tape throughout the black plastic.
And we all remember at this same courthouse, that same courtroom where Doomsday Cult Mom sat in that same seat. And she asked Judge Boyce not to be in court when they showed those autopsy photos and during Ray Hermosillo's testimony. Well, Chad Daybell didn't want to look or listen, but he was also forced to be in that courtroom.
And this reminds me of what an incredible job Detective Hermosillo and the rest of the investigators in this case did. This was not a simple investigation. This was such a complicated, layered story with so much to cover, so much to uncover, and they really put it together. It's amazing. All right, that's number 1. What's number 2 tonight?
Number 2 is the journey for justice. Not only the Rexburg Police Department and those detectives making the journey here to the Ada County Courthouse, about 5 hours away each and every day, but also the victims' families, including JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock. Today, Larry laser focused on the defendant during this tough testimony. We asked him his thoughts after he left court today. Take a listen.
Why? Why would you do that to children? Why would you do it? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, nobody can be that confused in life where you start hurting children, killing children. especially in the manner that these children were killed. I guess that'll be the question I'll die with, is asking why, and I don't think there's an answer.
Kay and Larry in court each and every day. Remember, they made the journey for justice from Louisiana, where they live. They're living here now for the next 7-8 weeks as they are going to look this they hope, a convicted killer in the face.
You know, that question, why would you do this to children, is right on. Because it happened. It happened to these two children. The other part, right, Kay, if it's not for Kay and Larry are the ones who get this whole thing going because they want to speak with JJ, and they're concerned. They're the ones, they pick up the phone. Local police, please, wellness check. We haven't heard from our grandson. All right, what do you have for number 3 tonight, Matt?
Number 3, ending a week of tough testimony. This jury has an extra day to think about it. Court is dark tomorrow, but after court today, we met up with juror number 18 from Lori Vallow's trial, Tom Evans, and was asking him about the type of testimony that this jury of 18 had to listen to today and his thoughts. Take a listen. Because it's something that you can't get out of your mind.
No, it doesn't ever go away. It's still there. Even though we didn't see the pictures today, I know exactly what they are. I see them plain as day.
All right, testimony resumes here at the Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho on Monday morning. It's an extra day for this jury because of a scheduling conflict, but really it might be needed, Vinny.
Yeah, it's well stated. You know, and juror 18 has such a unique position and perception of what's happening there. I'm so glad that you're able to speak with him. Matt Johnson joining us live in Boise. We may not speak tomorrow night. Hopefully you get some rest, but I know you have many, many more days and nights in Boise. Matt Johnson, Court TV crime and justice correspondent. I want to bring in our special guest tonight, joining us in Los Angeles, California, the director of the Netflix documentary about Lori Daybell. You need to watch it, folks. Sins of Our Mother. Skye Borgman is with us. Skye, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to start with something that John Pryor referenced in his opening statement, Chad Daybell's lawyer, in describing Lori. I think he referred to her as some sort of a Black Widow vixen. How would you describe Lori Daybell?
Well, I think it's something that's interesting to remember here. I think that there is going to be an effort to make Lori look like she is the one behind all of this. But remember that Lori wasn't like this before she met Chad. She was an LDS woman, but she wasn't thinking about any of these fringe beliefs. She really started to change when she met Chad, a little bit before she met Chad, when she was going to these conferences and looking for something more. And it was really when the two of them came together that she started to really change. So I know that they're trying to paint Lori out to be the one, the mastermind, if you will. But I think that Chad had a lot to do with the ideas of light and dark that they talk about, and how they categorized people as light or dark spirits, as zombies per se. And he is the one, I think, that probably killed his wife, Tammy Daybell. Lori probably didn't do that. Who killed the kids? I don't know if we'll ever know that for sure. Was it Lori? Was it Chad? But I do think that Chad is the one that brought a lot of these beliefs into Lori Vallow's life.
You know, every time I see that video of Lori being served with papers, sitting by the pool in the bikini, I'm trying to comprehend how this couple, who is, you know, getting ready to lead the 144,000 at the end of days, like how does, to me, this doesn't equal that, right? Like this looks like two people having a lustful affair, spending the money that they got as a result of the death of Chad's wife, the life insurance, which he quickly had to get his hands on, and lounging. Like, I can't put those two worlds together. How do you look at that part of this case, because it's religion, it's God, it's the end of days, it's leading 144,000, but here they are sitting by the pool in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's really difficult to pull these two worlds together. I don't think they go together. I think that they had this idea that they were following God's word, or that they were going to be God. He was God, she was his queen. But really, they just wanted to be together. And I feel like they kind of felt like they could just do no wrong. And that as long as they were together and as long as they were living their lives, then nothing could touch them. They believed themselves to be untouchable.
Now, the way I've heard this described was that, not just by John Pryor, but others, that at that conference when Chad was speaking, that Lori approached him. Now, I could guess his reaction when this woman is approaching him, you know, just a simple grave digger, you know, self-publishing some really skinny books. But it seemed like she really bought into what he was selling in those books.
I think she absolutely did. And his books are a combination of, he says they're fiction, he sometimes says they're fiction based on fact, but she really bought into his books. She started reading those books after she met him at this conference. She really started reading all of his books, and they really resonated with her. And they started reaching out, and they started having a relationship of sorts. I don't think that they were together at that point in time, but they were talking a lot. He was coming down and visiting, and they were definitely coming together at that point in time from really Lori reaching out to him and following his books.
And that's the part of Lori I'm trying to understand. Like, I know she's bounced from man to man to man to man. We were talking with her brother last night about that. But like Charles Vallow was like a very accomplished guy, like had the money, the success, seemed to be a family guy, had some values. And when we watched him in all the body cam, he was confused by what was going on with his wife. And he still seemed concerned about her, despite the fact that she's threatening to kill him.
Yeah, but he didn't have the religion. And I think that's really what separated Chad from Charles. And none of her husbands before had really been as devoted as Chad was. And from what I've heard, it seems that Lori was really searching for that. Look, Charles converted to LDS for Lori. He didn't start out that way. He converted for her. But he never was going to be this king, this God that Chad sort of made himself out to be. And he'd been an LDS member his entire life and was thinking and talking and preaching, if you will, ways that just didn't fit into mainstream LDS. And that became very appealing to Lori.
So Chad has turned on Lori. Lori did not turn on Chad. She would get mad if her lawyer said anything bad about Chad or his books. Why do you think that is?
I think she still loves him. I think she still feels like there's something greater, that all of this is just sort of a blip, that these kids' deaths are a blip, that Tammy's deaths are a blip, that these trials are a blip, and that they don't mean anything, that this world that awaits her, that awaits Chad, where she will meet her kids again, I think that's what the objective is for Lori at this moment in time. And so she didn't need to turn against Chad, because this mortal life, I don't think it means anything to her. Whereas Chad is different. I mean, he recognizes what his life is, and he wants to get out of it. He wants to put everything on Lori, and he wants to go back to living a life on this earth.
And all his children are alive. Just one of Lori's survived all of this. Skye Borgman, so great to have you on the program. I hope you'll come back, because the trial is continuing and our coverage will continue. Sins of Our Mother, Netflix documentary, must watch, must watch. Thanks so much, Skye.
Thanks, Vinny.
Okay, what do they think? They are locked, they are loaded tonight. Philip Dubé, Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, they're up next.
We are underway in the trial of doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Morgan. I could never come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
Now.
Dr. Hampikian is going to talk about the fingerprint on the plastic that J.J. Vallow was discovered in was that of Alex Cox. Dr. Hampikian is going to talk about the hair sample that was found on the plastic of Alex Cox and that it was Lori Vallow.
So when you think about what happened to little JJ and Tylee, how they ended up in Chad Daybell's backyard or his pasture, as John Pryor's attorney referred to, you know, the part of his property that's behind his house, right? I mean, one in the pet cemetery, the other buried near a small little pond. And you think about the state that they're in, but then when you get into the forensic evidence, the forensics connected directly to the remains go back to Lori and Alex. But it's Chad's house, his backyard. And don't forget, he also buried a raccoon that day, according to his text message to his wife. Anyhow, let's take a look at some of the biggest moments from today's testimony.
Detective, can you explain to the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 10J?
So once we started removing the wet soil, and I testified earlier to a black round object protruding through the dirt, this is what we started to see. It appeared to be like tight wrapped black plastic.
Can you describe what you saw in State's Exhibit 10K?
So once that appeared, ERT team leader Steve Daniels used a small, sharp instrument. He made a slit in the white plastic. And when he did that, you can see what appeared to be brown human hair.
When you got back to the residence, did you observe another burial site being looked at?
I did.
Where was that located?
So through the course of our investigation, we learned that the Daybell family had deemed a section of the backyard as what they referred to as a pet cemetery. And so when I returned back from dropping JJ off at the morgue, I observed ERT digging in the pet cemetery area. There was only a few of us at a time that could work because of the area, but also because of the smell. We had to take turns digging because we were on our hands and knees and the smell was so bad that we could only work for a few minutes. And at that point, we could start to see what appeared to be the shape of a green melted bucket that appeared to have the remains of, we assumed were Tylee, that were charred and burned inside that plane. We decided that we were going to take JJ and Tylee to the Ada County Coroner's office to have an autopsy performed.
Once the body was taken out of the bag and you made the observations you just described, what happened next?
Dr. Warren and his team then cut the white plastic that was wrapped around his head and duct taped. They cut down the middle to reveal what was underneath. Once they removed the duct tape in the bag, through looking at all the photographs for the last 8 months of JJ, I recognized him to be the same little boy laying on that table as JJ Vallow. Dr. Warren pointed out some bruising on his arms, on his ankles, on his chest. He also pointed out some scratch marks on the left side of his neck.
When that autopsy was concluded, what did you do?
Dr. Warren and his team removed JJ from that autopsy table. They then brought out a second black body bag. Once the remains were brought out, Dr. Warren opened the bag and looked at the remains and stated there was nothing he could do at that point.
Comes right back to Larry Woodcock. Like, how do you do this to children? Why would anyone do this to children? Someone did. Someone did. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy. Also with us in Phoenix, Arizona, the attorney who represented that woman years ago in a big, 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 big trial. Who shall remain nameless still tonight. Kirk Nurmi is with us. And in Los Angeles, California, Deputy Public Defender, LA County, Philip Dubé. Great to see everyone tonight. Here's my concern tonight, Eklund Mercy. And you know the way I see the world, right? As a former prosecutor. That's just the way I look at the world. But I'm searching for the truth. My concern here, listening to John Pryor, knowing what the forensics are here, connected to these children, knowing what the phone records are. Alex Cox, a homicidal maniac, like the guy is. Shot and killed Charles Vallow. We know that for sure. Joked about tasing his brother-in-law in his privates. Like, I know who this guy is. So these children were not killed in that backyard. They were placed in that backyard, and there's no forensic evidence tying Chad Daybell, the defendant in this case, to those remains, other than the location. And of course, the relationship with Lori. Is that enough?
I don't know. I think it's all going to be on jury selection. At this point, it's going to be jury selection, but I do believe that Chad Daybell holds the pulse of this trial. Depending on how he's going to testify is going to really...
Oh, boom, you think he needs to testify and explain why these dead bodies are in his backyard?
I think that his only option, because he's looking at the death penalty, is the truth. I think that if he goes 100% the truth, ugly or as whatever as it may, that will save him. I think that if he just gets, and it's again, this is a different 100% honesty in a case like this is actually the pivot that a defendant like this would need. So I think that if he goes 100% and just tells them everything, that would confuse the jury.
And yeah, absolutely. I couldn't imagine seeing that. Kirk Nurmi, that would like have everyone's head spinning, right? If he got up on the stand and started just like spewing all of this stuff. What are your thoughts about trying to tie Chad Daybell to the children in the backyard?
Well, let me tell you, all the reasons you cited when you were asking that question to Eklund, the lack of that connection, Alex Cox's history of having killed someone near the area where Lori Vallow was. She's going to go on trial for that kind of conspiracy. I think all those things are justifiable concerns, but I think they relate more to the death penalty than they do actual guilt or innocence, Vinny. So to make you feel better, understand that most death penalty qualified juries are more than likely to convict than they are to acquit, right? That's just statistically, that's the way it is. And so, and I don't expect Chad Daybell to take the stand in the trial phase. Remember, in a death penalty case, he has the opportunity, if they find him guilty in the sentencing phase, to allocute, to stand up in front of the jury and say whatever he wants to say without the crucible of cross-examination. So I don't think we're going to see that here. But I think what the defense is going for is not reasonable doubt, but enough doubt to put in jurors' mind, because time and time again, when you ask death penalty jurors, when you're qualifying them, the most common answer you get out of them, if they could impose the death penalty, is they'd have to be certain. And the areas you brought up to Eklund are areas of uncertainty in terms of going that far. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt, guilty, you bet. Death, that's where they're focused.
So that's like the next level, right? Beyond a reasonable doubt, and then certainty is above that. Philip Dubé, should I be concerned? Because I believe they're all in this together. That's my personal belief, but you've got to prove it in the courtroom. Do you think there's enough there to tie Chad Daybell to JJ and Tylee?
Not yet. I think one of the smartest things that Chad did was get severed from Lori. If you recall, he wanted more time to do testing on the biological evidence that was recovered, because I truly believe the defense team thought that there would be absolutely no traces of Chad's DNA or fingerprints or serological evidence, anything of that nature that would be tied to him and the decedents in this case. So right now, there is no biological evidence tying him. All you really have, and by the way, you don't have a confession either. You don't have any type of verbal, written, or assertive conduct acknowledging the commission of those homicides. All you really have is the recovery of the 2 children in the backyard, or in that area of the property, I guess, the pasture or the pet cemetery.
Right.
Absent some proof that he knew they were there in the raspberry patch, absent some proof that he knew that, I just don't see it yet. But there's more to come. They're just
there's definitely more to come. Definitely more to come, but they need a little more.